basis all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Vanacha Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Girivara
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanacha Yamuna Tiravanachari Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsas Tatara Pravakacharya's Divine Grace of Charananda Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Ganga Mai Ki Jai Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. They are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 42, and we're starting on text 3, but I think I'm going to go through, it's like 11 or 12. But starting with text 3, I'll read the Sanskrit, and then we can all repeat, and then I'll just go through the rest of the text because it's just one like pastime that kind of just all goes together. And honestly, the suspense is killing me. Sairandyavuvacha Dashamiyaham Sundara Kamsa Samata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boja Patirati Priyam Vina Yuvam Konyata Mastararhati Sarendriuvacha Dashamiyamam Sundara Kamsa Samata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boja Patirati Priyam Vina Yuvam Konyatamastararhati. Devotees, Mata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boja Patirati Priyam Vinam Yuvam Konyatamasarhati Sarandriuvacha Dashamiyaham Sundaram Kamsa Namata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boja Patirati Priyam Vina Yuvam Konyam Tamastararhati Sairandriuvacha Dashamiyaham Sundara Kamsa Samata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boga Patirati Priyam Vina Yuvam Konyatamastararhati Sarandriuvacha Dashamiyaham Sundaram Kamsa Samata Trivakra Namahyanulepa Karmani Madhvavitam Boja Patirati Priyam Vina Yuvam Konyatamastararhati Sairandriuvacha The maidservant said, Dasi, a servant, Asmi, am, Aham, I, Sundara, oh, handsome one, Kansa, by Kansa, Samata, respected, Trivakra Nama, known as Trivakra, bent in 3 places. He indeed anulepa with ointments, karmani for my work, mat by me, bhavitam prepared, bojapati to the chief of the bojas, ati priyam very dear, vina except for yuvam you two, ka who, anyatama else, tat that, arhati deserves. Translation by the servants of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The maidservant replied, O handsome one, I am a servant of King Kamsa, who highly regards me for the ointments I make. My name is Trivakra. Who else but you two deserve my ointments, which the Lord of the Bojas likes so much? Please repeat. The maidservant replied, O handsome one, I am a servant of King Kamsa, who highly regards me for the ointments I make. My name is Trivakra. Who else but you two deserve my ointments, which the Lord of the Bojas likes so much? Purport by the servants of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that Trivakra, who is also known as Kubja, used the singular address Sundara, O handsome one, to hint that she felt conjugal desire for Krishna alone, and she used the dual form Yuvam for both of you to try to hide her conjugal sentiment. The hunchback's name, Trivakra, indicates that her body was bent at the neck, chest, and waist. So text 4, and we'll just go through this. I believe it's until text 12, and then they start the pastime of Krishna breaking the bow, stringing and breaking the bow. Rupa peshala madhurya hasita lapa vikshitai darsitatma dadau sundram ubayor anulepanam. Her mind overwhelmed by Krishna's beauty, charm, sweetness, smiles, words, and glances, Trivakra gave both Krishna and Balaram generous amounts of ointment. This incident is also described in the Vishnu Purana, Canto 5, Chapter 20, Text 7. Srutva tamaha sa Krishnam grihayatam iti sadaram anulepanam pradado gatra yogyam atobayo. Hearing this, she respectfully replied to Lord Krishna, Please take it, and gave both of them ointment suitable for applying to their bodies. Text 5. Tatastav angaragena svavarnarta rasobina samprapta parabhagena sushubate nuranjito. Anointed with these most excellent cosmetics, which adorned them with hues that contrasted with their complexions, the two lords appeared extremely beautiful. The Acharyas suggest that Krishna spread yellow ointment upon his body and Balaram blue ointment upon his, but we'll hear more about that in a moment. Text 6. Prasanno Bhagavan Kubjam Trivakram Ruchirananam Rijvam Kartumanas Chakre Darshayam Darshane Palam. Lord Krishna was so pleased with Trivakra, so he decided to straighten that hunchbacked girl with the lovely face just to demonstrate the result of seeing him. Padbyam akramya prapade drangulya utana panina pragrihya chibuke dyatmam udinam marachuta. Pressing down on her toes with both his feet, Lord Achyuta placed one upward pointing finger of each hand under her chin and straightened up her body. Satarju samanangi brikcharoni payodara mukunda sparshanat sadyo Babuva Pramadotama. Simply by Lord Mukunda's touch, Trivakra was suddenly transformed into an exquisitely beautiful woman with straight, evenly proportioned limbs and large hips and breasts. Tato rupa ganodarya sampana prahakeshavam utariyantam akrishya smayanti jata rikchaya. Now endowed with beauty, character, and generosity, Trivakra began to feel lusty desires for Lord Keshava. Taking hold of the end of his upper cloth, she smiled and addressed him as follows. Ehi virya griham yamo natvam tvaktum ihotsathe tvayon matita chitaya prasida purusharshaba. Trivakra said, "Come, O hero, let us go to my house. I cannot bear to leave you here. O best of males, please take pity on me, since you have agitated my mind." Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti supplies the following conversation. Krishna, is it for the purpose of dining that you are inviting me to your house? Trivakra, I simply can't leave you here. Krishna, but people here on the King's Road will misconstrue what you're saying and laugh. Therefore, please don't speak like this. Trivakra, I can't help being agitated. You made the mistake of touching me. It's not my fault. Evam striya yaktya mana Krishna Ramasya pashyata mukam vishyanu gopanam prahasam stam uvachaha. Thus entreated by the woman, Lord Krishna first glanced at the face of Balaram, who was watching the incident, and then at the faces of the cowherd boys. Then, with a laugh, Krishna replied to her as follows. Eshamiti griyam subru pumsamadi vikarshanam saditarto grahanama pantanam tvam parayanam. Lord Krishna said, O lady with beautiful eyebrows, as soon as I fulfill my purpose, I will certainly visit your house where men can relieve their anxiety. Indeed, you are the best refuge for us homeless travelers. By the word agranam, Sri Krishna indicated not only that he had no fixed residence, but also that he was not yet married. And then after that, he left, as we hear in the next verse, that he left her with those sweet words. Om Jnana Tiramandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatata Satanine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bir Krishna Das Goswami Namine Namo Hamsana Kashaya Prabhupada Priyate Sudrita Sudinasya Mam Tashava Kinuvadine. So yesterday we heard about the beginning of this pastime, and just a few things I wanted to note, and then I'm actually going to read from Prabhupada's himself's narration of this pastime, which is in the Krishna book, because at this point, as we know, the servants only of Prabhupada were unpacking this 10th canto. But there's a few points. At the beginning of this pastime, Krishna called Kubja or Trivakra, "Oh, beautiful thighed one." We heard that yesterday. And I had to read it a few times because usually Krishna is calling someone beautiful eyed one, but he actually called her, "Oh, beautiful thighed one," which, is a little provocative. It's a little forward. And then later, after everything transpired, she gave him the ointments that were meant for Kamsa. And it's explained, I read in a few places, that most likely it was sandalwood paste. That was one of her main services, was to prepare sandalwood paste for Kamsa. And it's also notable that in a previous incarnation, Kubja Trivakra was Suparnika, or Surpanaka, I'm sorry, in Lord Ramachandra's pastime. So this is her pastime now with Lord Krishna, because we know in that pastime Ram Leela that Supernaka came at Ram with also lusty desires. And Lord Ramachandra rebuffed that because he was married to Mother Sita and, end up having her nose cut off and going back to her brother Ravana and telling him about the whole incident and all of that. So now in this pastime, she's come and again she's serving a wicked king, namely King Kansa, in some way. And fortunately, by her somewhat Agati Sukriti, she was able to again have darshan of the Lord in this particular form of Krishna. And, she was a little bit forward about it, as we've just heard. She was making gestures such as pulling at his cloth and inviting him to her house, which is not the most proper thing that women do. Although he was unmarried, she was unmarried like that. But this was the pastime that kind of had played out previously when she was in her Surpanaka. And it's also explained by the acharyas that she's a partial expansion um, in this pastime. Trivakra is a partial expansion of Satyabhama, Queen Satyabhama. So she was kind of in that little bit of a portion or plenary portion. She was a wife of Krishna. So I'm just going to read also from, I wanted to read from Prabhupada's narration of this pastime because it's very interesting. And it sheds a little bit more light on the whole scene, actually. And then just a little bit of discussion about that. After leaving the florist's place, which we previously heard about, Krishna and Balaram saw a hunchbacked young woman carrying a dish of sandalwood pulp through the streets. Since Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he wanted to make all his companions joyous by cutting a joke with the hunchbacked woman. Krishna addressed her, "Oh, tall young woman, who are you? Tell me, for whom are you carrying this sandalwood pulp in your hand? I think you should offer this sandalwood to me, and if you do so, I am sure you will be fortunate." Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knew everything about the hunchback. By his inquiry, he indicated that there was no use in serving a demon. She would do better to serve Krishna and Balaram and get an immediate result of the service. And we also know, flashback to Ram Leela, he actually attempted to engage Surpanaka in his service as well, because he did actually offer for her to marry Lakshman at the time, right? The woman replied to Krishna, "My dear Shamasundara, dear beautiful dark boy, you may know that I am engaged as a maidservant Kamsa. I am supplying him pulp of sandalwood daily. The king is very much pleased with me for supplying this nice thing, but now I see there is no one who can be better served by this pulp of sandalwood than you two brothers." Being captivated by the beautiful features of Krishna and Balaram, their talking, their smiling, their glancing, and their other activities, the hunchback woman began to smear all the pulp of sandalwood over their bodies with great satisfaction and devotion. The two transcendental brothers, Krishna and Balaram, were naturally beautiful and had beautiful complexions, and they were nicely dressed in colorful garments. The upper portions of their bodies were already very attractive, and when the hunchback woman smeared their bodies with sandalwood pulp, they looked even more beautiful. Excuse me. Krishna was very much pleased by this service, and he began to consider how to reward her. In other words, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, the Krishna conscious devotee has to serve him in great love and devotion. Krishna cannot be pleased by any action other than transcendental loving service unto him. Thinking like this, Krishna pressed the feet of the hunchback woman with his toes and, capturing her cheeks with his fingers, gave her a jerk in order to make her straight. At once, the hunchback girl became a beautiful, straight girl with broad hips, thin waist, and very nice, well-shaped breasts. Since Krishna was pleased with the service of the hunchback woman, and since she was touched by Krishna's hands, she became the most beautiful girl among women. This incident shows that by serving Krishna, the devotee immediately becomes elevated to the most exalted position in all respects. Devotional service is so potent that anyone who takes to it becomes qualified with all godly qualities. Krishna was attracted to the hunchback woman not for her beauty alone, but for her service. As soon as she rendered service, she immediately became the most beautiful woman. A Krishna conscious person does not have to be qualified or beautiful. After becoming Krishna conscious and rendering service under Krishna, he becomes very much qualified and beautiful. When the woman was turned by Krishna's favor into an exquisitely beautiful young girl, she naturally felt very much obliged to Krishna, and she was also attracted by his beauty. Without hesitation, she caught the rear part of his cloth and began to pull it. She smiled flirtatiously and admitted that she was agitated by lusty desires. She forgot that she was on the street and before the elder brother of Krishna and his friends. She frankly proposed to Krishna, "My dear hero, I cannot leave you in this way. You must come to my place. I am already very much attracted to your beauty, so I must receive you well. And since you are the best among males, you must also be very kind upon me." In plain words, she had proposed that Krishna come to her home and satisfy her lusty desires. Krishna, of course, felt a little bit embarrassed in front of his elder brother Balaram, but he knew that this girl was simple and attracted. Therefore, he simply smiled at her words. Looking toward his cowherd boyfriends, he replied to the girl, "My dear beautiful girl, I am very much pleased by your invitation, and I must come to your home after finishing my other business here. Such a beautiful girl as you are the only means of solace for persons like us, who are away from home and not married. Certainly, a suitable girlfriend like you can give us relief from all kinds of mental agitation." Krishna satisfied the girl in this way with sweet words. So there's so many things that are contained within this pastime, actually, that can directly relate to all of us in our daily lives and our sadhana bhakti process. And Prabhupada clearly states, no matter what our condition, no matter how degraded or filled with anarthas, particularly the foremost anartha in this world, which is lust, no matter how much or how less we think of ourselves, the moment we take to the devotional service of the Lord, he gives all help. He actually is able to straighten us out. You know, he's able to figure out what it's going to take for us to get on the straight path to him, and he's able to make it very easy to come to him. And that's quite evident by his whole pastime with many devotees, but particularly it's very visually illustrated here with this pastime of Trivakra Kubja, who, you know, had been in other pastimes and she had different things that she needed to work out. Obviously, as Supranaka, she was a little bit twisted in her desires and also her allegiance. And, you know, Krishna ultimately, although, you know, it seems pretty harsh, he cut off her nose to teach her that lesson in that pastime that, you know, everyone's maybe heard the expression, when you cut off your nose to spite your face. That's when you're, in plain terms, that's actually when you're making some offense that, you know, in the long run is going to hurt you, but maybe at the time you're thinking that it's beneficial. So those are some things that we also have to be sure to be vigilant about in our practice. There's always many examples in our daily lives, and actually yesterday I was hearing about a particular devotee who was here and she was serving, and sounds like, from what I can gather from the situation at the time, there was some offenses committed, and ended up that she went away from that service after, you know, doing everything for Radha Golokananda, even serving on the altar and cooking for them and dressing them and doing so many things. And she went away and she was re-snared by the lure of Maya, and she resumed her former activities that she had been taking up before she came to the Krishna consciousness movement. And I guess it was found that she actually left her body very prematurely, after having a very hard life, after leaving the service of Krishna, and those kinds of things that you hear about in others' lives and others' dealings. It's a cautionary tale, and it illustrates as Prabhupada said, it's a razor's edge. The Krishna consciousness, our Krishna consciousness, is like walking on a razor's edge. Any minute, you can go one way or another. So, it's not a scary thing because it's easy to do and it's very sublime as we, chant very sincerely on a day-to-day basis, and we remember that we're servants of the servants of the servants of the servant, and we refrain from committing offenses toward devotees or, of course, to Krishna himself, but particularly to the devotees and to the deities. And we are able to stay on that straight path, without deviation. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude to do that. It can't be something that we think it's one and done, it's minute by minute. It's practicing mindfulness in our daily sadhana bhakti. It's practicing mindfulness in our dealings with others. And it's heeding the words of our guru and acharyas and the scriptures. So to stay on that path, everything's there for us to take advantage of, to understand it. So in this particular instance with Trivakra, who, presumably was, I read in another purport or another angle of vision on this particular personality that, she had her past infractions against Krishna and his devotees, but and that's all going to manifest. We know our karma kind of shapes what bodies we get, how we're conducting ourselves, our conditioning in this lifetime. So for her to get that trivakra, which is the bent in three places, the neck, the chest, and I think it was the knees, there must be some offenses there that were committed. And, Krishna came along, and it's interesting to note, I was thinking of the juxtaposition of Trivakra with Tribhanga, which is the name of Krishna, which is sort of the reverse. He's like charming, threefold bending form. So we know Krishna as Tribhanga. And when he's standing with his flute and he's got his foot, his right foot crossed over his left, that's his Tribhanga form. So we know him in that form, and that's very charming and it's very attractive. Trivakra was not so attractive. And so she was, I read in another place that she had heard about the son of Vasudev. She had heard what his great sort of mystic powers were, not really knowing he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but she was actually waiting to have his darshan. She was patiently waiting, going about her duties, patiently waiting to get the favor of Krishna. And she was sure that he would help her out, straighten her out. And that's exactly what happened, by her sincere desire. And that's actually our positions. We're it's in the 10th canto, and I can't remember the verse, but there's actually it's confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam that we're all to just simply tolerate our past misdeeds and our past, whatever we've done in the past, and tolerate our anarthas and actually work to, of course, eradicate them, but, be humble about it, and also at the same time wait patiently for Krishna to come and take us out of that miserable condition, because that's our rightful claim, as we're rendering service unto him, particularly in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. What to speak of our devotional service, we just have the opportunities to be able to render that service unto him and just wait patiently for his mercy, which sometimes comes in very interesting ways. You know, it's not as not as v- sort of vocal and also visual as this past time with Kubja. You know, it's not maybe that overt, but you know, he's always giving us some mercy in some ways. Just the fact that, you know, if we're here in this temple room on a day-to-day basis and we're able to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and we're able to execute our sadhana bhakti, you know, with some degree of sincerity and determination, just to have that ability is Krishna's mercy, actually. You know, we're so fortunate because I'm sure every one of us knows our own limitations, and also every one of us has seen um, instances of where maybe someone is practicing and somehow or other they stop. You know, they go away. They're not able to continue for whatever reasons, you know, and we don't know. That's between them and that's between Krishna and their guru. That's their business. But alls we know is, you know, for our own selves, we can actually just sort of take the take the humble position, take the high road to try to continue on our path and be really candid about our limitations and understand that Krishna will help us in those instances. And maybe it won't look like what we're hoping for. Maybe it won't turn out in a way that we were praying for, even, or we were envisioning. But Krishna will always do the thing that's going to help us the most in our on our path, along our path, and in our daily practice. So it's a very inspirational story, actually. This Trivakra Kubja pastime, because no matter what our crooked consciousness, no matter what our conditioning, no matter what our anartas, um, you know, I heard one of the gurus in our movement say that our sincerity is our armor. You know, as long as we stay sincerely fixed, and no matter what our mistakes are or what our perceived inadequacies are, you know, we're able to continue on, chalk it up to experience, and move along, and sometimes at a slow pace, sometimes at a fast pace. But, you know, in Kubja's case, you know, she had been waiting for lifetimes, such as, you know, same as we, you know, we're waiting for lifetimes for that kind of mercy. And if, you know, you can imagine Krishna actually coming face to face with Krishna and actually stepping on your toes and straightening everything out in one fell swoop, that's pretty amazing. And it can happen, you know, there's nothing that Krishna can't do. I know personally that worshiping the Archa Vigraha form of Krishna does make things happen quicker. And so I would recommend that if you have the willingness and also the, you know, the stamina to do the direct worship of the deity form of the Lord, that's the quickest. That's the quickest path. That's the quickest way along. It's very it's sometimes quite painful because you see your anartas on a daily basis, and you're able to understand that you're not able to do it alone. So, you know, you have to, it's always a corrective mentality that you have to maintain when you're worshiping the deity form. But that's coming face to face with Krishna, particularly worshiping him with articles, as Kubja's doing here, worshiping him with sandalwood, she was, and whatever other ointments, or worshiping him with other articles, and also with touching actually his form and dressing him. That's the, I would say, the most purifying of all of the services. So highly recommend if you're really wanting to move along the path quickly and get the real mercy. I mean, we're all getting the real mercy, but get the major corrective mercy, which personally for me I need because my consciousness is very covered. I'm extremely dull, and just like Kubja, I'm very simple. So I don't really know very much, um, but I can understand and I can perceive that if there's opportunity to serve the Lord, then I need to take it. So I just encourage everybody to keep that mindset and take those opportunities when they come, and our crooked mentalities will be straightened out in no time. Haribo.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachadane Nirvisesha Sanyavasi Paschatya Disatadane Namaste Saraswati Deve Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Nittagor Haribo, 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 Nittagor Haribo, Haribo, Nittagor Haribo, 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 Nittagor Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Nanda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Golokananda Radha Golokananda Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jaya Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa.
Okay.
Founder Srila Prabhupada ki, Shishi Radha Krishna Go Gopinath, Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Navadvip Dham ki, Jamuna Mayi ki, Ganga Mayi ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti ki, Shishi Radha Golokananda ki, Samaveda Bhaktavrinda.
Saktish Tata Pritania Mita Smarani Nakala Etadrishita Vakripam Bhagavamamapi Dudaivam Vidrishami Hajanina Nuraga Trinada Pisunichana Tarura Pisahinuna Amanina Manadena Kirtania Sadahari Sundarin Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Jamani Jamanishvari Bhavata Bhakti Haitu Kistvai Ainanda Tadu Jakinkaram Patitamam Vishamai Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Duli Sadrish Samvichintaya Nayanam Galahra Rudaraya Vadana Gargara Rudaya Giram Pulakai Nichitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahan Bhavishyati Jugaitam Nimishana Chakshusha Pravrisaitam Sunyaitam Jagasarvam Govinda Virahiname Ahlisha Vapadaratam Nastumam Adarsanam Mahmahatam Karotuva Yatatato Vavidatato Lampato Mapranatastu Sevana Param. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanter of your holy name alone, can render all benedictions to living beings, and those who have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, think oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O my Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want numbers of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaja Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yes, somehow or other, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.